Now, speaking on that, the topic that I wanted to cover today, I was looking for some older versions of this discussion for a gentleman that I had a conversation with, a coaching session, I should say, earlier this week, related to the married put positions. Now, you've heard me talk about the married put approach as discussed in the blueprint, where the general idea is I'm going to open positions following the rules in our full course, the blueprint, that contains the 13 different adjustments. 4 of the adjustments, by the way, relate to that second working asset, the put option. We're going to buy a stock, and we're going to buy a put far out in time, at least 150 days out in time or more. And the idea is to control risk to single digits while leaving the upside open and having a longer time horizon with a lower protection in place, so that we can reduce that over time and potentially bulletproof the trades where we have no risk on the position. And of course, the reason why go far out in time? Well, the reason why is that the option that is 5, 6, 7 months out in time is not 5, 6, or 7 times the cost of the near-term option. It's lower. It's just like insurance for your car, of course. Right? If I pay month by month, I'm going to pay a higher premium over the course of a 12-month period. If I pay semi-annually, I'm going to have a lower price. They're going to give me a discount. And if I pay for a full year, well, they're going to give me a bigger discount, so my cost per month is lower. It's the same thing with options. That's why we talk about selling 0 days to expiration, selling the weekly options 2 weeks out in time. We want to sell closer term to maximize our annualized return with things such as bull put credit spreads, iron condors, and the like. But when we buy, we want to be buying further out in time. So the general, and CCJ is in here too, as we saw. It's matching those technicals that we'd use for a bullish position, whether it's bull put credit spread. It might even be on the Bollinger Band long call search as well, with those numbers that we saw and breaking out of the Bollinger Band recently and so forth. Rambus 2, it pulled back though. Goldfields might be in there, as well as my AGI might be in that long call search for the Bollinger Band breakout. In any case, there is Alamos. But the question came in, well, I have multiple block shares of both SPY and QQQ. I'm not planning on sell them. I'm not going to sell them. I don't want to be assigned on a covered call. I don't want to lose the position. At the same time, I want to protect. We're at all new highs now. I want to protect these gains that I have. And this is a blueprint owner, someone who just recently bought the blueprint, but he wanted to know what is the best option to buy. With the plan of never selling, maybe generating some income with some out-of-the-money calls, but doing one of the other income methods discussed in the blueprint where you could generate premium but still leave the upside open. Well, we know what SPY has. It has options all the way out to 2027. So what is the best expiration to choose? Now, first off, what we did during the discussion is I took him to the insurance tool. This is under the Married Put tab, but it's also under our signature tools. You've got volatility skew, current market sentiment, spread chain, long option finder, stock repair, and insurance. It's also under the Married Put tool as well. So let's go to insurance. And what this tool allows you to do is simply put in your stock symbol, and we're going to use SPY. We know we're in the 660 range, but let's say that over the course of the years, with some income methods being done, selling some calls, collecting some dividends, when I bought in, let's say my cost basis is $525, just for example. And I'm going to leave my buy put month here at all expirations to start. And sell call month, I'm just going to leave that blank. Let's go ahead and calculate that. Now, what this tool did in that instant is it went out and said, okay, I've got a 26% profit, unrealized, on SPY. And we're hitting new highs. And we keep bumping up against the new highs, bumping up against the new highs. All right. But if I just wanted to protect the short term, because I think there might be a decline, I could look at some of these options that are 21 days, 91 days out in time. And what this tool is showing me is that right now, I could buy the October 668 put for only $442. That would adjust my cost basis up to $533.72. But I have a 668 put. So I have a guaranteed profit of 134.29 in the worst case scenario, or a locked in profit of 25.2% of the unrealized 26.4%, but only for 21 days. What does locked in profit mean? Again, it means a bulletproof position. Let's take a look at the profit and loss chart. In this scenario, it means we have no risk. Did I increase my cost basis by that 443? Oh, I'm sorry, midpoint here is at 872. Well, that's kind of rough. But I increased my cost basis up to 533.70. But I'm guaranteed to get 668 back in the absolute worst case scenario. So there's our locked in profit of 134.28 or 25.2%. That's the worst case scenario. And if we get another dividend, that'll just lower it. I could sell a call maybe at the 670 strike, 680 strike. They'll get a little bit more of the money. Maybe get this back up to 26.4%, where I'd be if I liquidated right now. That's guaranteed return before selling the calls, with leaving the upside completely open if it continued to move up in price. But the gentleman's comment was, I am going to hold this position long term. I have no intentions of selling. I want the put in place now, with the ability to do some of the other adjustments discussed in his blueprint that he just got a couple of weeks ago. So he says, okay, well, should I go 154 days out here? Well, here's the situation. I mentioned part A of how Ernie and myself commonly use the married puts. We open new positions that match the criteria. I have 5 open right now. I'm probably going to open a new position. I want to open a new position next week, but again, we're bumping up against a new high, so I'm kind of hesitant. But again, I'm going to open a new position here. We're opening new positions where we have the expectation, as discussed in the blueprint, that the stock is going to move up roughly, let's say 3 to 5% in the next 20 to 40 days. And then I also have an expectation it might move up another 6 to 8% in the following sort of 70 to 80 days after that. I'm making a game plan to stay in this position for at most 120 days, 3 months. That's why I want my put out at least 150, 200, 210 days out in time. That's my expectation. And as the stock fluctuates, it moves up and hits my expectation, usually from the search results. 95% of the trades we post in the Fusion portfolio at RadioActive Trading come directly from that default search under the Married Put tab. And that's about 68% of the time. The stocks do exactly this in the first 20 to 40 days. It's a little bit lower that this happens, but by this point, I've already cut the risk by about half. I started with 7% risk. I'm down to 3.5%. I can do other adjustments. This is maybe above 50, but it's not 68% of the time. It is closer. This second bracket is closer to about maybe 54, 55% of the time that happens as well. Now, at this point, I'm easily bulletproof on the trade. All right, but yes, we're going to use those income methods. And if the market turns, we've got income methods for the downside, income methods to readjust the position, and more. You can use the married put approach on any stock that you're bullish on. Now, our default criteria, as I mentioned, I just kind of outlined what my expectations are and what I've seen from the search results since 2008, 2009, when we partnered up with Kurt Frankenberg, the original author of the blueprint. And this is still why it represents 55% of my total portfolio. But the married put concepts discussed in the blueprint will work with any stock that you're bullish on. Your risk might be a little bit higher because the implied volatility is higher. It's a different type of stock. You might need to go deeper in the money to get a single-digit risk because of higher implied volatility. But the concepts, the pros and cons, avoiding gambler's ruin, which we talked about a little while ago. If I take that, talked about taking a 50, 58% loss on a position, what do I need to get back to break even? If I take a 58% loss on what I entered into an initial long call, well, I need a over 100% gain, probably close to 120, 130% gain on what I have left just to get back to break even. That's gambler's ruin. That's why you have to control risk. But in this situation, I own a stock long term. And what I really want to do is protect it. I've got an unrealized gain in the trade. His is much higher than this, by the way. I was just using this as an example. We've got a 26.4% unrealized gain. I'm not planning on ever losing these shares of SPY or bumping up against new highs. And what did I talk about before when we were talking about sort of related to the at the money bell curve, but it's more related to something different. And what that is that when you look at any option chain for any stock, you compare any strike, whether it's at the money, in the money, and out of the money. Again, the option that's 12 months out in time at the same strike is nowhere near 12 times the cost of the near term. The one that's 24 months out in time is not twice the 12-month out series. It's much less. And it's definitely not 24 times the 1 month out series. We're getting a much lower price. So in this concept of I'm holding a position, I've had other conversations over the years. I've had conversations with gentlemen who own Apple at about $25 or $22 per share. IBM at $2 per share. I had a discussion with, I think 3 or 4 years ago. He got a lot of shares of stock from working for IBM for years. And he has it at a cost base, thousands of shares at a cost basis of about $3 or $4 per share. Someone I talked to once, I can't remember the stock. It was one of those, it wasn't Johnson & Johnson, but it was one of the big pharmaceutical companies. Maybe it was Abbott Labs. He's got a cost basis of negative $40 because he worked for them for years. Options and, stocks and everything like that, awards, retirement. Yeah. Shares and shares and shares, dividends, negative cost base. He's already bulletproof. But hey, in case the stock falls, wants something in place where he can profit on that position and reestablish the break even and continue to move forward. Okay. So related to this question, if you using the blueprint approach, not just opening new positions, yes, the concepts in the blueprint, the concepts of the Married Put apply to this as well. I want to hold this long term. I have no intention of selling these shares ever. I am going to keep collecting the dividend. I'm going to generate income using options. What's the problem with going as far out in time as possible? We were looking at the January 2028, by the way, 3 years out. We didn't go into these 30s. What's the problem with going as far out as possible? And the answer is nothing. You're paying a higher price up front. See here, the 670 is at $50, $49.94. Still slightly in the money right now. And I could go higher to the 685 if I wanted to, but let's just stay with this 670 at about $50. $5,000 per contract. How many contracts? That's the cost difference. But you're locking in more than half of the unrealized gain you have right now, and that is a guarantee. That's not a stop order. That is a guarantee that the worst case scenario in 854 days on January 21st, 2028, the worst you could do is 15.3% profit. We're not even counting the dividends that you're going to collect over that 2-year and 3-month period. That's not even included in this. It's not including any income methods of selling calls or doing anything like that. But why is there no real risk other than the price increase at the time, the front shock, the price shock, right? Right away, $5,000 per contract, and I've got 1,500 shares. I'm buying 15 contracts. That's a large chunk of change. The 670 put, 854 days out, is, let's just call it $50. Let's keep it even. All right. So 854 days out, 670 strike put. We are at $50. Now, let's go 12 months in, from January 2028 to January of 2027. Now, what are we? We're 483 days out in time, and the 670 put is at 37.10. Is the 2028 January put 854 days away? Oh, sorry, wrong one, folks. 854 days away. Is that twice the cost of the 483 day out option? No, it's not. It's 37.10 going 483 days out in time, versus $50. I'm paying $13 more for an extra year of insurance. And closer in, of course, we know if we go to January 2026, oh, sorry about that. What is the price of our 670 put at that time? It's lower. It's $14.86. But going out to 2027, 483 days away, it's $37.10. It is more than double in this case. But going out to 2028, 700 days more out in time. Oh, I'm sorry. I'm looking at the time value. I wanted the midpoint price. Sorry. So it's 2116, right? So we wanted to compare the 2116. It's not. Yeah. So going the 485 days out in time, it's not 3 or 4 times the cost. It's up to 37. January 2027. Let me make sure we had that right. Yeah. Yeah. 4340. Okay. So the 3710 midpoint is what we were looking. We were comparing midpoints or the time value. So that's the idea. If you have a long-term hold and you don't plan on selling it, but you want to have the extra protection in place, does the married put still help with that? Yes, it does. Is there any risk of going as far out in time as possible? No, there isn't. But when I start getting closer, and I can still adjust this as I would with any other married put, I'd roll it up, roll it down as necessary, following the rules in the blueprint, but I'm getting a lower, essentially, cost per month, cost per day. 175. That's what I wanted to illustrate. The put time value per month for our 670 put is 175 for 854 days. For the January 2027 670 strike put, we're at 230 per month. I'm getting the better bang for the buck going farther term. I can always roll the put in later too. That's another way to adjust the put option, depending on market conditions and what's going on. And for a 119-day out, January 2026 put at the 670 strike on SPY, 375 time value per month. So there's nothing wrong with going the farthest range out in time. The sticker shock is a little bit, hey, that's $50 compared to $2,000 here shorter term. Another argument, some things we'd like to say is, hey, you get what you pay for. If I just want shorter term, I want the cheaper cost. Well, you get what you pay for. I've got a great locked in profit, not denying that, but my cost per month for the nearer term is much higher than if I go out to that almost 2-year and 3-month insurance to January 2028. Cost per month is only $175. That's why we want to sell near and we want to buy dear, far out in time. All right, so I just wanted to cover that briefly real quick, the reasons behind the pros and cons of going as far out as you can with the married put. Sticker shock, yes, it's there. A lot of shares, high cost into it initially, but you're getting the benefit of the lower time value cost per month. You're going to have a slower decay on the position, the time decay curve. You're going to have a much slower decay on this farther out option, and you don't get as much locked in profit because you're paying more into time premium, but this for 854 days. You're getting more dividends over that time period. You're going to be doing other adjustments during that time period, whether it's with the put or selling premium and so forth. So the idea of which is the best put to buy? Well, it depends on what we talk about in the blueprint, your SIGA model for the position. What are the current conditions of the market? What are your expectations for the trade? What are your goals for this strategy in your portfolio? And that helps determine the actions. So me, for a standard married put, even with everything I said, if I'm opening a new married put next week, from the search result, I'm not going 854 days out, 486. I'm probably looking for something that has that 7-8 month out put that we discussed. For a new position, meeting those expectations of 3 to 5% in the first 20 to 40 days, and then another 6 to 8% in the following 70 or 80 days after that. But if I have a position that's a longer term hold in my portfolio, that I'm not planning on selling because my cost basis is so low, or because it's a dividend aristocrat that I'm just holding and reinvesting the dividends, then in this case, there's nothing wrong with using the put. That's the farthest out in time that you can get for that strategy.